Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Kuruvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militum Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading this week chapter 16. Earlier, we just finished going over chapter 10, text 34, in honor of Mother's Day. So now we will read chapter 16 as our usual weekly Bhagavad Gita reading. The chapter is titled Daivasura Sampada Vibhaga Yoga, Divine or Demonic Natures. Om Atashashta Dashamadhyayaha. Text 1 through 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, nonviolence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharat, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. What is very interesting about this list includes the 4 principles of Siddharana Dharma, and it includes the 7 qualities of femininity. So the 4 principles of Dharma, which are considered masculine, and the 7 qualities, divine qualities, if you will, which are considered feminine, are included in this list. The 4 principles of Dharma, which are considered masculine, are Tapa, Saucha, Daya, Satyam. Tapa, self-control, right? Austerity, Tapa. We see that here. Tapa, Shaucha, purity or cleanliness. We see that here in this list. Daya, compassion for all living entities. We see that here in this list as well. Satya or truthfulness. We see that here in this list as well. So the 4 principles of Dharma, which are considered masculine, not masculine in the sense that they are male and women do not abide by the 4 principles of Dharma. That's not the way Vedic spirituality talks about masculine and feminine qualities in this regard. Then you have the 7 divine feminine qualities, Kirti, Shri, Vak, Smriti, Medha, Dhriti, and Kshama, right? Kriti, glorification or fame, reputation. We see that here. Shri, or prosperity, good fortune, wealth. Vak, fine speech. We see that here. Smriti, memory. We see that here. Intelligence. We see that here. Courage. We see that here. Or determination. And forgiveness. We see that here as well. So both masculine principles and feminine principles are, as Krishna says here, are transcendent, and many others are considered transcendental qualities which belong to persons endowed with divine nature. However, Krishna lists 4 demonic qualities, several demonic qualities in text 4. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance, these qualities belong to those of demonic nature, O son of Pritha. Text 5. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, moksha, whereas the demoniac qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with divine qualities. Text 6. Remember, those qualities are conducive to liberation. They do not bestow liberation. Very important. Text 5. Text 6. O son of Pritha, in this world, there are two kinds of created beings. One is called the divine and the other demonic. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demonic. And Krishna's explanation of divine qualities have not only been listed in this chapter, in the first verse of this chapter. Krishna has been talking about divine qualities all throughout, basically from the first chapter, the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is reminding Arjuna, I've been talking about the divine qualities since the beginning of this discussion, but I'm going to give you a glimpse of also, just so that you recognize and understand demonic qualities. Those who are demonic do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness, nor proper behavior, nor truth is found in them. Easy to see such people of demonic qualities. It doesn't mean there can be reformation. Of course there can be, because all of us, all conditioned living beings, unless your name is Jesus Christ, we all are struggling with issues of demonic tendencies. These are just qualities. There's always scope, possibility for reformation and development. In fact, that is the meaning of our purpose of life, purpose of the human form of life, as described by Vedic teachings. Text 7. They say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. In other words, there's no meaning to life. We're just here. We happen to exist. Out of the many gazillion possibilities in this world, one possibility came to create life. It was by chance, life came about. We're here and we're just going to live the life that we're here to live and just enjoy life as best we can, do what we can, how we can, and we die, and that's it. Krishna is describing this, not that lack of knowledge is demonic. Krishna's not saying that, because Krishna is always talking about the exploration of knowledge. In fact, the very first statement in Vedanta is Tato Brahma Jignasa, inquire after the supreme, inquire after reality, inquire after the meaning of life. So Krishna's not saying ignorance or lack of understanding, lack of knowledge of where we come from is demonic. Krishna is saying a person who does not have the basic curiosity to question, why am I here? Well, you're just wasting your life. At least have some curiosity as to why you're here, and explore these various theories of existence, of creation, because that will help put things in perspective and give some measure of meaning and purpose. Text 10. Taking shelter of insatiable lust, in other words, being just completely concerned with fulfilling the demands of the body and senses, and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demonic, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. Very powerful language here. Attracted by the impermanent, not at all questioning what is eternal? That's basically the question that has Atato Brahma Jignasa simply means what is eternal? Is absolutely everything have a beginning and an end? And if everything does have a beginning and an end, well, that's fair enough. That's the reality. But Krishna is saying, inquire into what is eternal. Is there anything that is eternal? That's the beginning of our exploiting the benefit of the human form of life. When we inquire into the eternal, no other human species can inquire into anything beyond themselves. Right? They can't inquire. They cannot ask the question of what is eternal. They cannot investigate that. It is the unique nature of the human being, the human intelligence, human consciousness, that we are able to ask such questions. Not then taking this opportunity to ask those questions, Krishna is saying, is very, very unfortunate. You have the capacity, why not use it to inquire? Texts 11 and 12. They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. What more can be said? That's self-explanatory. The next one is even more self-explanatory and provides some not unique, in fact, universal visuals we can all understand. 13 through 15. The demonic person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and many other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect. I am powerful, and I am happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, Krishna says, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Very interesting statement. Deluded by ignorance, because everything that they've just listed or described, impermanent. Impermanent. Inquire into the permanent. That's all. Text 16. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Text 17. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations, and this is me talking, knowing any reason why they're doing it. So the performance of sacrifices and austerities for name and fame and for admiration is, by Krishna's definition, demonic. If you're going to perform sacrifices and austerities and all these things, know why you're doing it. In other words, inquire into the eternal. Know why you're doing these things. And if you're doing them for results that are impermanent, that is also, by Krishna's definition, foolish. It's all impermanent. It's all impermanent. Inquire after, seek into knowledge of the permanent, the eternal. Text 20. Attaining repeated birth and Amongst the species of demonic life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. The reason why they can never approach Krishna is because Krishna is permanent. If you don't inquire into the impermanent, how are you going to be associated, come in relationship with the permanent? Text 21. There are 3 gates leading to this hell. Hell meaning going around and around this merry-go-round of impermanent experiences. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and just going around and around and around and around indefinitely. That is hell by Krishna's definition. There are 3 gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. All of you have often heard me talk about Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, the 6 enemies: lust, anger, greed, delusion, arrogance, and envy. So Krishna is listing the first 3: lust, anger, and greed, Kam, Krodh, Lobha. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. The degradation of the soul means going down into this cycle of impermanent experiences, rather than rising to what is eternal, what is permanent, what is transcendental. And that is, of course, pure love. Text 22. The man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. The supreme destination is relationship with the permanent. That's the supreme destination. Relationship of love with the permanent. And experiencing loving relationships in perpetuity. That's the supreme destination. Text 22. The man who has escaped, I just read that. Text 23. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. Neither perfection, because going around in circles, experiencing life after life, various impermanent, going through many impermanent experiences, that's not perfection. Perfection is realizing our pure spiritual nature and living transcendent to this impermanent cycles of samsara. Nor happiness, because happiness in this cycle is also impermanent, comes and goes. And neither will you achieve the supreme destination, because the supreme destination is not this cycles of up and down, happiness and distress, coming and going. No, the supreme destination is an experience of loving relationships in perpetuity. Text 24. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulation of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that they may be gradually elevated. So the scriptural injunctions, remember in the very beginning of this chapter, Krishna says these divine qualities are conducive to liberation. So, living in accordance with, in harmony with those divine qualities are conducive to liberation. Then one gradually can become elevated. Let's go back to reading that actually, because that's the last verse of the chapter. Let's go back to the first 3 verses and read some of these divine qualities, which are conducive to liberation. Fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly people endowed with divine nature. These transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demonic qualities make for bondage. And there we have it. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyaya Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Jana Sambhade Daiva Sura Sambhada Vibhaga Yoga Nama Shashta Dashamudhyaya. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Kuruvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.